Here's my take on Dave. Back in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, early 80s, I don't think anybody could touch him. He had a unique voice, a unique style, unique sound. And he was, at that point in time, I would say maybe the greatest frontman, certainly for that era. But looking back at it all these years, 2021, when you look back at it, in my opinion, it doesn't age as well. And it seems even more, and maybe that's reflected by the recent Dave, where it's very vaudeville, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And when you have that slide mat in front of the drum riser and the special shoes and the Fred Astaire stuff, to me, that's not Van Halen. And I've always said that Dave has the Samson complex, that all that kind of happened when he cut his hair. And it seemed very, I don't know, he just lost his thing when that hair was gone. And, you know, and that might sound silly, but I think there's something to that. And maybe it's colored by the 7, 12, 15 Dave. But I look back at the early Van Halen and I think, oh, I see the vaudeville in that now. Looking back, do you feel that same way? Do you think it still holds up? Were you happy with the 7, 12, and 15, Dave?
So, you know, I always argue with people about this on Twitter, but I mean, I think arguably 2007 was the best Roth sang since like, I mean, certainly since maybe like 79 or something like that on like that he really. Like, I was actually shocked at how well Roth sang. Now, I had heard, like you probably, lots of recordings of him on the 2002 tour and all that, you know, basically his like Sam and Dave stuff and the solo stuff where he'd play like, you know, fairs and stuff like that. And it was, you know, it was at times a difficult listen. Like some nights where it's like, oh, that's, you know, that's not sounding good, Dave. That's not, you're doing your best delivery. But, you know, he came out in 2007 and was like in shape and was 100% serious. And like, I was almost like, you know, I don't know. It was almost like he wanted to basically leave everyone with the memory of that Dave, when he was given the chance to be back in Van Halen, delivered 100%. And look, I mean, you might disagree or other people might disagree, but, you know, again, I'm not saying like 2007 Dave was like better than 1978 or 1981 Dave or 86 Dave in terms of a live performer and the whole.
Well, he was never a great live singer. He was a great.
Yes, I would agree. Like, I mean, I think people sort of do a broad brush and said never. I mean, this is a whole nother rabbit hole we don't have to get down. But yeah, sure. I think yes, Roth definitely should be lauded more for his overall performance and his basic persona and the whole thing. Yeah. Than like he wasn't Freddie Mercury, right? Correct. But I thought there was a definite drop off when I saw him in 2012 in Tulsa. There was a lot of this, you know, like screaming about the blowers. I don't know if you remember that. He was like sort of the air conditioning was getting to his voice, and he was having. I don't know if it was just sort of he had a chronic voice of throat issue, but he was very agitated about that, and it was noticeably. He had lost something off his fastball. Let's just say that, and that was you know, something that was noticeable. And then, you know, as time went on, I mean, definitely, you know, he was still doing some of those the obviously over that last 7 or 8 years, there was less of the acrobatics, for lack of the physical stuff sort of began to drop off.
Did you feel it got more sticky?
Yeah, I mean. I think there was a trend towards Dave deciding, okay, I can't jump off the drum riser anymore. Again, was it like a master plan? Like this, maybe it was. Maybe it was like he sat down and was like, okay, jump off the drum riser anymore. So I'm going to do more something like out of like a 1940s. Yeah, you're right. Like a 1940s like musical. I mean, he did more of that, like, you know, the tap dance type of stuff and the sort of facial expressions and the jazz hands and the whole thing. But you know, to me. Yes, that is not necessarily like Roth wasn't doing that stuff to the same extent he was doing in 2007 or even 1990, whatever. You know, it was different. It was a different deal. But you know, it's sort of like it didn't feel contrived to me because I'm like, well, this really is a guy who grew up watching all that stuff on like all this dance,
well, that's my
movies.
point.
It's not like he was like, I need a new gimmick. I'll just like imitate old movies. I'm like, well,
I think he became more comfortable.
Right?
I think he became more comfortable with who he was, and that stuff came out because he lost that machismo. So that stuff was kind of left over. Because I guess my point is, when you read old Roth interviews, he said he loved that stuff. He loved the Fred Astaire and the vaudeville.
Right.
And now the three last tours, I've gone back and looked at video of the old stuff, and I go, yeah, I see it now. But it was kind of masked by the long hair and the girls and the this and the that. And I think we were left with that. I just had a problem with, especially that the live album, where I couldn't for the life of me understand why they released that. Because
that's a whole nother. I'm not a fan of that record.
Yeah, they sound amazing.
I've always said to people, I mean, I'm not a Roth truther. I mean, I'm not going to I'm not like where I have to feel like I have to defend everything. I mean, it's inexplicable to me why that record came out.
Yeah.
So the way it did, I think there were a lot of other things that could have been done. For wherever Roth was at that moment in time, he wasn't singing his best. I mean, that's a careful way of wording what I think he was not singing his best. And to release something from 2015, I mean, I get it. Maybe like the Van Halens, meaning all three Van Halens, decided, well, we're playing better. Wolf's playing now after playing with us for 8 years. He's sort of at his peak of his playing, and we're all like locked in together. I would have, I would have advised, me advising, but I think release something from 2007, because as an overall of the whole thing, you could probably find a night where Ed was on, Dave was on, Wolf played great, Alex played great, and you could find where something would have been much more. I can't.
That's why you need that. What is it? Mosey's, because I've taken that album and removed his vocals from it. And this is no slight to Mike, but Wolfgang in 2015, or I guess that was the 2012 tour that they did that Japan live album for.
I think so. Is that right? 13 or something? I can't even remember what it was.
That. Yeah, because the 2015. Yeah. Anyway, so when that live album came out, the three of them sound amazing, and just with Woofy's maturity and experience behind that instrument, man, it was like Van Halen on steroids.